All right, let's try something a little different today. What if, instead of looking at a trend over months or even years, we could understand the entire state of AI by freezing time, by looking at everything that happened on one single crucial day? Well, that's what we're going to do. And that day is October 4th, 2025.
So what can just one day really tell us? Well, as it turns out, it can tell you almost everything. Because on this specific day, all the key forces shaping AI's future, the good, the bad, and the kind of scary, all slammed together, showing us an industry right at a major turning point. So let's dive in.
You know, the biggest thing to grasp from all this is that AI isn't just a bunch of separate things happening at once. Nope. It's more like a giant, self-reinforcing flywheel. Every single part, the hardware, the software, the money, it all locks together, and each piece pushes the next one, making the whole system spin faster and faster. We're going to break down that system, piece by piece, starting right at the foundation.
Okay, let's start where all the real power is generated, the engine room. At its absolute core, the AI revolution is a bare-knuckle fight for raw computing power. And this isn't just about building faster PCs. This is a high-stakes, global arms race for the specialized hardware that actually makes AI, well, think.
And if you want to understand the sheer scale of this race, just look at this number, $4.5 trillion. Let that sink in. That was NVIDIA's market cap on this one day. And their dominance? It isn't just about their GPUs. It's about their CUDA software platform, which has basically become the industry's operating system. It creates this massive competitive moat, this walled garden, that is incredibly hard for anyone else to climb over.
And the hunger for that hardware is just off the charts. The big cloud companies, we're talking Google, Amazon, Microsoft, they were on track to spend a combined $300 billion on AI infrastructure in 2025 alone. That kind of relentless demand puts unbelievable pressure on the entire system.
But all that pressure, it's also creating diamonds. The source we're looking at calls this a Cambrian explosion of specialized silicon. And that's a nod to this period in Earth's history when, boom, a ton of new, diverse life forms just appeared out of nowhere. We're seeing the exact same thing now with a whole new wave of startups, each one laser-focused on attacking one specific bottleneck in the AI hardware chain.
And what's so cool about this is that these companies aren't just trying to build a slightly better version of what NVIDIA does. No way. They're actually unbundling the GPU, pulling it apart piece by piece. You've got Cerebrus tackling latency, that tiny delay when data jumps between chips. Tenstorrent is going right after NVIDIA's walled garden, that CUDA lock-in, with open source alternatives. And then you have companies like IR Labs and Celestial AI using light, photonics, to shuttle data around, trying to smash through the so-called memory wall that chokes performance. But this massive hardware party has a really serious hangover. On this very same day, alarms were going off about pollution from PFAS, these nasty forever chemicals that are used to make and cool all these components. It's this huge growing tension between the amazing things happening in the digital world and the very real, very messy footprint it leaves on the physical one.
And this just shows you the scale of the challenge we're facing. To get around Earth's physical limits on things like power and cooling, you get these wild, almost sci-fi proposals, like this one from Jeff Bezos. Just move the data centers into space. I mean, talk about a radical solution for a planetary scale problem. Okay, so if the hardware is the engine, what's the fuel making it go? Well, that would be the software. And more specifically, it's the massive leap from simple chatbots to something way, way more powerful, autonomous AI agents. And this, right here, is the next great platform war.
So what exactly is an AI agent? Well, think about it like this. You don't just ask it a question anymore. You give it a mission. You say something like, plan and book my entire vacation to Italy. And it just does it. It independently researches the flights. It compares hotels. It checks reviews. And it makes the reservations for you, all on its own. It's a game changer.
And because this is such a huge leap, it has kicked off an all-out war. Every tech giant is playing to its own strengths. OpenAI is trying to build a whole new ecosystem from the ground up, based around content and commerce. Microsoft, meanwhile, is playing defense, embedding these agents deep inside its Office empire. Anthropic is going the API-first route, trying to empower developers. And Google is trying to swap out its old assistant, hoping to leverage its control over Android in the smart home.
But the real main event, the core conflict, is right here. OpenAI launched something called the Agentic Commerce Protocol. Basically, it lets you buy stuff right inside ChatGPT, completely cutting out Google search. This isn't just about convenience. This is about capturing your intent to buy something at the very, very beginning.
a role Google has owned for 20 years. This is a direct, existential threat to Google's entire business model. It's the classic story, the disruptor versus the defender.
So we've got a hardware arms race and a software platform war. What's keeping this entire flywheel spinning at such a crazy speed? Well, it comes down to two things: an absolute tsunami of cash and intense pressure from inside the big corporations. I mean, just look at this chart. For the first time in history, more than half of all global venture capital funding, we're talking over $192 billion, went to AI startups. The source calls this the Great Bifurcation, a massive split in the market, and it's creating a capital drought for pretty much everyone else. The new rule on the market is brutally simple. You're either an AI company or you're getting left behind.
At the exact same time, the tech giants are basically forcing this tech on their own people. They're actually tracking how much employees use AI tools and even tying it to their performance reviews. I mean, Google's already generating a third of its own code with AI assistants, and Meta has literally gamified it with an internal rewards program. This stuff isn't optional anymore, it's a core job requirement.
And here's the why. Here's the strategy behind all that internal pressure. They are building what the source calls a productivity moat, an advantage that competitors can't cross. By completely rebuilding how they work from the inside out around AI, they're creating an efficiency gap that other companies just won't be able to match. This could seriously accelerate market consolidation.
Okay, so that brings us to the final stage of our flywheel. What happens when this supercharged engine of hardware, software, and money finally smashes into the real world? Well, you get a reckoning. Society is forced to figure out how to respond.
And on this single day, October 4th, we saw two completely different paths for governance emerge. On one side, you have Australia, which created this proactive legal framework that targets a very specific harm, deepfakes. They passed new laws making it a crime, punishable by up to 6 years in prison. Then, on the other side, you had OpenAI launching a new social app for its video model that was immediately swamped with violent and racist content. It led a lot of people to conclude that the industry's self-imposed guardrails are not real.
So what do you do with all this? What does it all mean for you? Well, the analysis really boils down to a new strategic playbook. If you're an investor, the message is to bet on the picks and shovels, the basic tools and infrastructure that make the AI gold rush possible. If you're a corporate leader, the message is urgent. Build that productivity moat right now, or you will get left behind. And for policymakers, the lesson from Australia seems to be regulate specific, provable harms, not the technology itself.
And in the end, what makes this one day so important is really summed up perfectly in this quote from the source material. October 4th, 2025 was the day that AI's shift from just being a promising technology to being an irreversible, economy-shaping force became totally locked in.
Which really just leaves us with one final thought. This AI engine is accelerating faster than any of us could have imagined. And the only question left now is, who's going to be in the driver's seat and who's going to get left behind on the side of the road? Thanks for tuning in.